The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah!
Go Cowboys!
This is Talkin Cowboys. Streaming live from the Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
C.D. Lamb, touchdown. End zone, Jake Ferguson.
Prescott keeps it, and he bangs it in for the touchdown.
And now your hosts, Isaiah Stanback, Patrik Walker, Josh Rodriguez, and Kyle Youmans.
It's a mundane Monday version of Talkin Cowboys presented by Black Rifle Coffee Company, live from the Star in Frisco, Texas, in the SWBC studios. Welcome in, everybody. We've got Patrik Walker, Josh Rodriguez, Tommy Yarrish with Chris Beam in the back. I'm Kyle Youmans. After the Cowboys fall to the Denver Broncos, 44-24, the final score in Week 8. It was not pretty. It was not good. And I said this on the post-game shows last night, but there are just some days when you don't have it and you don't play very well. There are some days when you beat yourself and penalties play a large factor. And then there are other days where the talent on the other side you just aren't as good as. And I think yesterday was a combination of the three. You weren't as good as the Denver Broncos. Even when you had the opportunity to play better, you probably didn't. You didn't execute the same way that you have at different points in the season. And then if all of that fails and you were finally executing, penalties shot you in the foot, 9 penalties for 80 yards, much of that happening in the first half.
At least they weren't self-inflicted, right?
They were all self-inflicted.
Oh, okay.
That's how penalties work a lot of the time.
Cool.
Yeah, I saw that one too. But it was just not a good day. Dallas falls to 3-4-1. Season's not over yet. But as Jerry Jones said yesterday, there is a long way to go with this football team. You played a playoff caliber team yesterday, and you saw how you stack up against the playoff caliber team. And I'll start with the gentlemen that were there yesterday. Patrik Walker, I'll let you start. It was not pretty in the Mile High City.
It wasn't. Ayo, Beamer, do me a favor. Cue up that old brother sounder real quick.
Oh, no.
It's because I'm here, isn't it?
No, it's not because of that. We love having you.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
That applies to everybody with the exception of maybe CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. They did their best. Javonte Williams, he did what he could when he was given the opportunities to do what he could.
Only 13 opportunities.
Only 13 opportunities. And unfortunately, none of those opportunities came in on that first drive when you were, second and goal, third. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm thinking of. I'll give shouts out to Queasy Bridges for that interception initially.
Yeah.
To set up the Cowboys offense to go do a thing, but I mean, I just named less than a handful of people that actually kind of deserve some credit. Everybody else stole some money yesterday from the Cowboys, and I'm talking coaches too. Stole some money. Free check. I do respect what Shotty said because Shotty got up there and he said I was not very good today. Mm-hmm. He said Matt Eberflus was not very good today. Clayton Adams was not very good today. I mean, when you stink up the joint like that, I mean, they absolutely got trampled by the Broncos. There's nothing nice to sprinkle on it, right? It's just a pile of what it is, which is horse crap. So the Cowboys don't know who the Cowboys are right now. So when you asked Dak Prescott the question last night, you're 3-4-1, what's your identity? He's like, our identity is inconsistency. Perfectly said, because that's exactly what it is. And Kyle, you pointed everything out perfectly in the prelude to this, which is, you knew that the defense was probably going to struggle based upon the sample size of everything before. You hoped they could replicate what they did against the Commanders, but you kind of felt like they maybe wouldn't be able to. Yeah. But you figured.
You had a little bit of hope.
Yeah, a little bit of hope.
Yeah.
But you just knew that the offense was going to show up.
We tried to say it last week.
You just knew they were going to show up.
And everybody was saying, what was the term last week that was brought up? Glazing?
Yeah. People said that we were glazing
when we were
the
trying
Broncos.
to talk about how good the Broncos defense
was. We literally tried to tell you that this is what could definitely be the case. I mean, we previewed it on Friday talking about how stout their defensive line was and how they were going to be able to stack the box against the run game. And basically, my thought process was if Javonte Williams isn't able to get – or just a run game, not necessarily just pinning it on Javonte, but if the run game isn't able to get going in the first 2 quarters, the game is done.
Yeah.
Done.
And what really killed them –
And you lost by halftime, by the way.
Yeah, you did. And
27-10.
There's something that correlates here. You basically lost by halftime. Most of those penalties were
in the first half.
In the first half. Yeah. Oh, okay. You had a couple of those that killed the first drive, and then it just kind of went from there. And then on the defensive side of the ball, you had penalties that extended drives and then created situations where they could get a chunk play down the middle and then run for an explosive touchdown on the ground the very same drive in which you could have been off the field and 3 and out. And then you look at just schematically. So personnel-wise, the execution was horrible. Schematically, it wasn't there either because here you are again. You got guys getting wide open touchdowns. Here we are again. You turn down the man coverage. Here we are again. You only blitz, 24% of the time, less than a fifth of the time, which correlation. You only got pressure on Bo Nix 24% of the time.
It's not a lot.
That's not a lot. So whenever you blitzed, you got pressure. Whenever you didn't blitz, you didn't get pressure. Okay, and you weren't stopping the run. Okay, over 400 yards, almost 270 yards allowed in the first half alone with those 4 touchdowns. Ball game, pass the sticks, man.
At one point, they were averaging 9 yards a carry. At one point,
Denver was.
Yeah. They brought it up.
Different running backs.
Despicable.
That just you don't win games that way.
I think they were averaging 13 yards a play at one point too. Yeah, look, I just don't think that this is a great football team, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think that, defense, obviously it's easy to say that defensively because they're so shorthanded, but, offensively they can do really good things. And that's kind of the heartbeat of this team, and that's where their identity, if they even have one, lies, is, hey, we can go and kind of score points and move the ball down the field offensively. But even still yesterday, I thought they missed some opportunities. Patrik touched on the first drive of the game. You've got 2nd and goal from the 1. Javonte Williams was the one that got you down there. I think he picked up 3 yards from the 4. I think Brian Schottenheimer maybe got a little bit too cute trying to throw the ball into the end zone. Sure, they've run the slip play action plays really well, and it's worked. But I think that's one where, look, Denver's a really good line of scrimmage team. And Dallas had a chance early to kind of punch him in the mouth and say, hey, we're here to play and we're here to play physical. And I think they missed the opportunity to do that. And then after that is when you kind of just saw things start to snowball with the pre-snap penalties and the procedural penalties and just way too much undisciplined play from a team that is in week 8 and you don't know what your identity is. You can't find any sort of consistency relatively outside of the offense, and it's just bad. It's just not great football. And this team, the thing that is worrisome is this team has good players, and a lot of those good players, granted, didn't play yesterday defensively because they were injured. But the fact that there is no remedy and no consistency is concerning, and it brings up a lot of questions. I know the trade one has been a big one, and do you go out and trade? No, I don't think you do. I think yesterday shows you, and I've said this from the jump, I don't think there's one player, and we talked about this on Talkin Cowboys, was it last week or the week before?
2 weeks ago after they lost to Carolina, we talked about it.
There is no one player, there is no 2 players, unless you get 2 all-pros at their respective positions that can change this defense for this season. I think you look at this and you say, okay, the season's not over by any means, but you hold on to those 2 first-round picks and maybe even try to sell some guys here at the deadline and try to gain some more draft capital and look to build through the draft. I think in today's NFL, building through the draft is the way to win Super Bowls. And the Cowboys have now 2 drafts coming up where they've got 4 first-round picks, and that is a war chest of picks that you can use to completely change this defense. You don't have to use all of them on defense, but you can change everything about your franchise through these next couple of drafts. I know it's a difficult pill to swallow, especially when we're sitting in the present and we're talking about the future, right? But right now, this is not a team that I think is going to contend for the Super Bowl, even the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think that is a big stretch, but once again, this offense is going to be something that can keep you in games, but if your defense can't find any sort of footing or identity at all, it's just going to be ugly.
And I liked what Tony Romo was saying. I mean, not that I liked those words. I just liked how he brought up that they kept referencing the 2013 game, Romo versus Manning, and how the offense was able to put up 48 points and lost 51-48. And that being a sort of perfect amalgam for what's happening now with the Dallas Cowboys, where the offense is just so good Granted, they didn't play very good yesterday.
Yeah.
But that was a large part into what the defense was doing. And then, of course, the penalties that kind of got you in that position. But for me, the game was lost. Your defense makes a play and puts you in pretty great position to go get a touchdown.
Yeah.
And you were able to muster up 3 points out of that drive that could turn the tide for you in that game and set the tone for the rest of the game. To me, that is a huge step back in the aggressiveness that Shoddy has taken so far this season. And he's been conservative at times, but I think overall he believes in his team. And I think yesterday was sort of indicative of their belief in what Brock Hoffman is able to do at the point of attack. I think there was a severe lack of confidence in what he was doing because you saw at every opportunity.
He was getting moved.
He was getting moved around, and for good reason. They didn't have the confidence there because the Broncos defensive line was so good. But at so many points, you're like, Javonte Williams can certainly gain these 3 yards.
I think you guys all bring up great points because the pass rush gave problems to Tyler Guyton, gave problems on the interior to Brock Hoffman. He had probably his worst game of the year, maybe Carolina, which there's a little bit of coincidence there. Those were probably two of the poorest offensive performances that you've seen throughout the year. Even elite offenses have down games, and they had a down game. They just did not match up well. We talked about
worst time to have a down game.
It was a terrible time to have a down game, but they had a down game. You talked about the opening drive. I'm thinking, and when I went back and watched it this morning, the drives at the end of the first half were infuriating to me because even if you look at Denver, interception, touchdown, punt, touchdown, that sounds like they're dominating. They really weren't. It was 20-10. Dallas had the football with 3 minutes and change, 3:47 when they took over. You go down the field there and you score. You're within 3 points. You're close to the end of the first half. We'll see what happens at the end of halftime. But even if Denver tacks on a field goal there, you are within a touchdown to start the third quarter.
Yes.
If you go down in that area, that portion of the game, you're within a possession at halftime, more than likely, and you get the football to start the third quarter. Instead, what happened, you go 3 and out, you punt the ball away. What does Denver do? They drive down the field. They get a touchdown before halftime. So then they go up 27-10. Oh, and you've still got the football. You've got, 39 seconds, which we've seen. As long as you get Brandon Aubrey in field goal range, you can make it work even in the elevation in Denver, Colorado. You can get in field goal range, kick a field goal. You're good. Completed a couple passes early, got right at the edge of what you would be willing to try with Brandon Aubrey, and then you try a deep seam over the middle of the field to Jake Ferguson into triple coverage. There was double coverage over the top and underneath, but then there was an extra safety coming over too. So it was really a Bermuda Triangle, as Isaiah called it yesterday on the postgame show. You're trying that football instead of trying something to the boundary to get out of bounds, set up a field goal attempt, and at least go into halftime with some dignity, down by 13 points instead of being, or 14 points instead of being down by 17. And then you go down and you score on your opening drive of the second half, and you feel like, okay, our offense starting to feel better again. Not the case. You're still down by 2 scores. You're still in a position where your defense needs a stop, and this is not a team that has to need the defense to get a stop. They just don't have the dogs on that side of the football. You cannot rely on that. So as much as this was on the defense and as much as we've praised the offense throughout the season, it was a down day. And in scenarios where they have converted in situations like that previously, they did not. Credit to Denver. They're a good team. I think Denver's a legitimate contender in the AFC, and I don't want to take anything away from that.
Absolutely not.
But if Dallas plans to be a contender in their division, plans to be a contender when they get to the playoffs, as Tommy said, or if they get to the playoffs, as Tommy said, you got to play better than that against the teams that are benchmark caliber teams that you're going up against, and they did not pass their test this week.
And time again, the Cowboys have proved that they don't win those games.
Yeah. When are we going to learn?
This is the litmus test.
Yeah.
The Dallas Cowboys are going up against an actual contender, and the result continues to be the same. Outside looking in, of course, I feel very passionate about how good I think the Cowboys can be. But when you're talking about a defense that cannot, personnel wise, afford making any mistakes, it's not indicative of a good team. And Tony Romo was saying it himself at the very end of the game, as far as like, this is a team that the offense is good enough to keep you in half of these games.
Yeah.
And the other half, you're going to struggle. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now.
It is difficult to really get a good litmus test on how good this team can be when their 3 wins are against the Giants,
Yep.
the Jets, and the Commanders. Those teams have a combined
A banged up Commanders team.
7 wins. And the Jets got their first one yesterday.
Yeah.
That's telling. And I mean, and then you look at the back half of the schedule: Eagles, Chiefs, Lions, Vikings, Chargers. I mean, this might be a long back half of the year.
I liked what you were saying a second ago, as far as like, why do we sort of?
When are we going to learn?
When are we going to learn?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you speak more to that?
I think, I predicted Denver would win on Friday, so it wasn't a shock. I thought it would be a whole lot closer, though, because I don't believe this team is far off. I really don't. And we've had that debate before about the draft picks and whether to hold on to them or whether to not. And I even asked the question to Stephen Jones a couple weeks back, how much are these next few games going into the deadline going to decide how you handle the trade deadline? And he said he didn't really give like a full answer in that case. But I think the answer is a ton. You go into the deadline at 3-5-1, you lose this week against the Arizona Cardinals, and with the back half of the schedule that Tommy's talking about, why would you not sell at the deadline? Why would you not take some of these good players 100%. That you can accumulate draft picks and try and build around some guys that are still here? Dak's not going anywhere. CD's not going anywhere. You could still re-sign George Pickens if he continues to have the season that he's having. Jake Ferguson's not going anywhere. Tyler Smith's not going anywhere. All these guys that you've re-signed, the core of your team is staying here. But there are some other players that teams would value elsewhere. So to speak to your question, this is a roundabout answer of getting there, or a roundabout way of getting there. I don't think they're far off, but if they don't have the season that you would anticipate, and they certainly haven't to this point, I think you have to look toward 26, 27, 28 because of what you already have from a draft capital standpoint. You got to be within striking distance to take advantage of this year and possibly trade those picks and say, I need a legitimate pass rusher. I need a legitimate linebacker or a safety or whatever the position is that you want to address first. You got to be within striking distance, and right now they are not.
No, it's not going to take 1 or 2 players. I mean, it would take a full overhaul of, in my opinion, the defense. And
I think you're going to get a couple guys. I know everybody's probably rolling their eyes when they're talking about, DeMarvion Overshown's coming back or Savon Rebel's coming back. And, Trayvon Diggs is out. I don't know if he'll ever play another game in the Cowboys uniform. We'll talk about that at some point down the line, too. But all of that to be said, you are getting some reinforcements. If you add those guys and then get an elite player, maybe it does help. Who am I to say? But right now, I don't have a whole lot of confidence that can help fix this team.
For the audio listeners, Patrick had a perfect response just then because it was just all shoulders. He's just like,
shrug.
What do you do?
Shrug. Because my thought process is I'm hearing everything you guys are saying. Keep the picks and build for the future. That, great, wonderful. What's your identity on defense? So
you don't have one.
Exactly. So my follow-up to that would be, not that I disagree with those points, my follow-up would be, yes, okay, use those draft picks and war chest. You're going to empty the war chest, and for the most part, you throw that at defense, okay?
Sure.
But you're throwing it at a defense that has no identity. It doesn't know what it wants to do. It doesn't know what it wants to be.
And that's the whole conundrum.
Schematically, it doesn't know.
It's a malleable, soft
so you're throwing
right
talent at it, which is perfectly fine. That's your job as GM, and as the scouting department, it's your job to locate talent and put the talent in the seats, okay? Now, once the talent is in the seats, and what I'm getting at is one of the roots, not the root, but one of the root issues remains miscommunication in that defense. I saw yesterday, again, the same miscommunication issues that we saw early in the season when they were getting walloped, okay? And you look at some of the body language on the sidelines. One particular instance after a big play, might have been after a touchdown, I'm not quite sure. You got Traqueezy Bridges basically passionately trying to explain to Kyer Elam whatever. I couldn't read the lips, but it was and I'm like, okay, So clearly,
If anybody should know, it's Elam who was in training camp.
right? So it's the fact that Bridges, who joined late, is now having this heated debate. I'm not going to say argument.
And we don't know which way it went.
Right, and we don't know. But my point
Could be passionate, it could be anger. We don't know.
Could be. My point being, when you have defensive players on the sideline having those types of conversations with each other in conjunction with what's going on the field, the scheme is still a huge question mark. I feel like every week we're going against the Riddler, but the Riddler is in the building. Like, what are you doing this week? I don't know. Because last week he was 48% man coverage. And then one of the feature films that Isaiah bought was they were going to break the 50% mark on man. Wrong. They went in the wrong direction. They went back into the 30s as far as man coverage is concerned. Zone coverage, that obviously didn't look great. Look at the wide open touchdown. That was in zone coverage. So, and now there's another aspect to it, which is, personnel wise, I mean, Jesus Christ, man, you had to put your nickel corner at safety because you ran out of safeties.
Yeah,
right.
You don't have the guys back
right.
there.
So that matters as well. So, let's talk about everything that matters. But my point being, whether you're trading for a guy or two, and I'm on the boat of trading for two guys, not one. Now you need two. Now you need two. You need a pass rusher and you need a safety. I feel like the linebacker core will stabilize once DeMarvion Overshown is back and back to form. I think that stabilizes things. But regardless of if you're siding with me and you feel like you want to trade for one or two players, or you're siding with Kyle and Tommy, I think Josh as well, as far as keeping the picks, doesn't matter which one of the tables you sit down at. Yeah, you have to agree that at the end of the day, one of the bigger problems is, what scheme are you running? What are you doing on defense?
And remember,
what are you doing?
Remember, I also flipped too, because I'm worried about, and initially I was saying hold on to the draft picks. I'm worried about wasting Dak Prescott's MVP caliber play. That's where I'm saying, okay, maybe we should go get a draft pick. But then you look at the defense and the inconsistencies and all of these different elements here to say there is no identity. How much is it going to fix even if you do go and do it? So I don't want to sit here and do nothing with Dak Prescott playing the way that he has. I don't want to sit here on my hands and just say, yeah, you know what? It is what it is. Hopefully he comes back in 26 and 27 and plays the rest of his contract like this. I don't want to do that, because that's not how the NFL works. You got to take advantage of opportunities when you have them now. And the most frustrating part about all of this and the debate that you're going to have is you're either wasting the window or you're throwing potatoes at the wall trying to see if it sticks on defense. And that's what the picks would be. They would be potatoes at the wall. Hopefully a pass rusher helps. Hopefully a safety helps. Hopefully the linebackers start playing better when DeMarvion Overshown's back. Hopefully Savone Rebel, as a third-round pick out of East Carolina, can play immediately. All of it is a hope.
Say the thing.
And hope is not a strategy.
That's the thing.
And that's what it is on the defensive side, and that's what's so frustrating for Cowboys fans.
I think, hold on, really quick. Above all, regardless of all of this, trade, hold on to the picks, whatever it is, something needs to change now.
You got to do something.
Something needs to change.
I'll make 2 quick points, and then I'll give you all a question going into our break.
Oh, a little tease here. I see.
So number one, to Patrick's point about identity, with 4 first-round picks, I think you can find guys who can help establish an identity for you on defense. Not a guarantee. I'm not guaranteeing anything. I'm not Charles Barkley. But I think you can find guys that help you set the tone on defense. And, there are a couple of guys that I love college football. If you follow me on Twitter, you see that. And there are a couple of guys that I watch around the country, and I'm just like, oh, man, I would love to cover that guy.
That would be fun.
Because he's so good.
Yeah.
And, the other thing, too, is I have no issue with trading some of that capital for a player if and only if it is a young player that is under contract for the next
3 or 4
years, 3 or 4 years. And because that would be the only way, that would be the only way that you could make the most of moving on from a capital like a first-round pick or a second-round pick, is if you get somebody that's going to be around for you consistently for this defense. You can't trade for 1-year rentals at this point.
No.
And the question that I'll give you guys going into break, we've talked about scheme and this defense, and oh my God, it's awful. This is the 3rd defensive coordinator for the Cowboys in 3 years. Do you think that a change is what is needed, or at some point, do you feel like Dallas just has to sit down and give a guy time. Because if you move on from Matt Eberflus, then you've got your 4th defensive coordinator in 4 years. And at some point, you've got to let a scheme stabilize. And you can't keep changing things up on guys because some guys are going to fit great. Some guys are not going to fit great. And you're not going to know that. So at some point, do you say, okay, this is our guy. We're going to give him time. And we're going to ride it out and see if this can get better.
And we're going to answer that question on the other side of the break with more Talking Cowboys right after this.
I'm home.
Hey, Mom, before you ask, I've done my homework and the dishwasher's unloaded.
Nice. Hey, can you...
Hey, hon, yes, I've got the finale ready to play. Here's your wine.
Wow.
Isn't it nice not having to ask? We think so. That's why if there's a network interruption, AT&T will proactively credit you for a full day of service, guaranteed. Credit for fiber downtime lasting 20 minutes or more, or for wireless downtime lasting 60 minutes or more caused by a single incident impact 10 or more towers. Restrictions and exclusions apply. See att.com/guarantee for details.
If you're looking for fresh American roasted coffee that gives back, you need to head to your local grocery store and pick up a bag of Black Rifle coffee. That's right, America's coffee is now available in the coffee aisle of a grocery store near you. Black Rifle Coffee Company is veteran-founded with a mission to give back to those brave men and women who have served our nation. Every bag, box, or can you purchase helps support that mission. Head to your local grocery store and roast yourself some Black Rifle coffee today.
Every day begins with a promise to work hard and to build a future. That's why we're here, providing the tools, expertise, and John Deere equipment you have relied on for generations to help you get the job done right. We're with you. That's our promise to you, because no matter the project or the challenge you're facing,
We're with you. We're united.
How's it going? You see that Cowboys game?
Oh, I watched. Been seeing some good things.
Totally. They have some talent.
Yup, some great talent.
And they got some fight.
Hoping this is the year.
Me too. Oh, I'm Cody, by the way.
I'm Travis.
Nice to meet you, Travis. Go Cowboys.
Go Cowboys!
Make a new friend based solely on their shirt choice. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America, the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Copyright 2025 Bank of America Corporation.
Back to Talkin' Cowboys.
Back here on Talking Cowboys, this segment is brought to you by Invisalign, the official smile of the Dallas Cowboys, with Patrik Walker, Josh Rodriguez, Chris Beam in the back. I'm Kyle Youmans. Tommy Yarrish is in the building, and he just proposed a phenomenal question.
Thank you.
Going
First
into the
of my
break.
career.
First phenomenal question of your career.
Also, Tommy, I wish you were here for a win every once in a while.
Yeah.
I know.
Why do you always show up whenever
they
there's a
always
loss?
call me in whenever they lose. I'm sorry. Well, when I started here, it was like the Detroit game. I think they lost 5 straight before the Washington game when Cavante Turpin finally got me a win. But yeah, no. If you missed before the break, the question that I posed was, Matt Eberflus is Dallas's 3rd defensive coordinator in the last 3 years, and at least from my perspective, and you guys, if you have a differing opinion, please feel free to throw it out there. Of course. I think it is really difficult for players, and you see this all the time, especially with young quarterbacks, is when they've got to change in their head coach or their play caller, offensive coordinator, whatever it may be, you can see their development kind of really start to struggle. And guys that have had that turmoil, like a Justin Fields or even a Baker Mayfield, a guy who's turned it around, can just necessarily not be in the right spot, and having different voices over the course of their career can make things hard. And so my question was for Dallas is, at some point, whether it be with Matt Eberflus or even if you move on from him and take somebody else, do you just have to sit down with a guy, even if it means going through a season like you're going through right now, and do you just have to stick with somebody and give somebody time to get something going? I know NFL stands for not for long. And that goes for coaches too, especially now because nobody is patient. But at some point, do you have to settle into, hey, we've got to keep somebody, not just Matt Eberflus, because Matt Eberflus has not done a good job this year, just straight up. And I don't know if anybody could have done a good job with this personnel, but especially
Tony said that yesterday too. He said I would have a tough time if I were in the same situation.
Especially this unit, it's been very poor.
Yeah.
At some point, though, do you just need to give these guys a sense of continuity in their defensive play caller? Because if you're just going to keep changing things on them year in and year out, I think it's going to be hard to develop.
I would argue that I don't think that was Dallas's plan necessarily to keep Matt Eberflus around for a long time. He's a guy that's coming off of a head coaching job. Granted, he was fired, but he's sort of one of those bigger names that, like, eventually, you know, and Shoddy said it before, it's like, oh, he will be a head coach again in the NFL. I don't think you can bank on that necessarily.
That's the goal.
At least now, but that's his goal, right?
Yeah.
So I think the Cowboys sort of went into it. It's like, okay, let's build an identity using what Matt Eberflus wants to do and then sort of build around that. But, you know, maybe it's a Dan Quinn situation too, where they kind of anticipated at least a few years of getting that identity figured out, right? But you're not seeing it at all. At least with Dan Quinn, you very early on saw indications of what that might be, and that was turnovers, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That was one thing that you could always lean on, and pressure.
And you know why they saw the flash of pressure and why they saw the flash of turnovers early in Dan Quinn's tenure?
Why is that, Kyle?
Because they struck gold at a pass rusher. They struck gold with Micah Parsons in the draft.
Where's that guy at?
He's in Green Bay, and he played really well last night. That's the thing for me is you struck gold. Even they didn't want it. Remember, they were at 10 in that draft, and they were wanting Pat Surtain for good reason, by the way.
Right.
They wanted J.C. Horn. They both go bang. Yeah, they're both great players. Bang, bang in front of them to Carolina and to Denver. They're sitting at 10, and they say, man, maybe we should trade back. We don't really love a ton of these options. We'll trade back a couple spots, and then if Micah or Rashawn Slater fall to us, for good reason, then all of a sudden we'll make the pick. They made the pick at 12 after they traded. So even they didn't know what they had, or else they would have taken the opportunity to trade up and go get Micah, just as anybody would have if they would have thought that was the case
if they knew.
Out of the draft.
Yeah.
They struck gold with Micah. Dan Quinn was able to build his system with an elite pass rusher as a rookie who finished with 12 and a half sacks or 13 sacks or whatever it was. And that's how they were able to do that. You don't have that guy. You don't have that type of player and even the personnel on this team to do that. And remember, that was after you had 3 coordinators in 3 years as well. Because you went from...
And you saw D-Law at the time.
You had D-Law?
You had like arguably...
A stabilizer.
A stabilized defensive line.
You had Trayvon Diggs, who had played under you pretty well for a year.
The pieces were there. Drafted. The pieces are not there right now.
They don't have the same person.
You have Kenny Clark and
a bunch of dudes.
Some guys.
Yeah.
Well, my question is when you look at the personnel, if everyone is healthy, look at it from that capacity. And then you ask yourself this, in addressing Tommy's question. If you're the Cowboys, you have a personnel set, when completely healthy, that is designed to primarily run man. So I'll simplify it and just put it to that.
Yeah.
You have a defensive coordinator that primarily runs zone, right?
Yeah.
So the question is, if you're entertaining or hoping that Matt Eberflus stays around because you want the continuity, how long do you think it would take to transition the current personnel to a set of personnel for the new DC to be able to have hopeful success in running the scheme he actually wants to run?
Yeah.
That'll take 2, 3, maybe even 4 years, depending on how you draft, because you're not going to hit 100% on all of your draft picks. You're just not. That's not how it goes. So even though you're one of the best actually, as far as scouting draft talent, you're just not going to hit 100% of the time. So that's my thing. My concern there is, and I'm not saying that it can't be done. I'm saying that you have to understand the transition period. So you talk about potentially wasting the window that Dak Prescott has. He needs a defense, and put it out. He played poorly yesterday, but he played poorly because of a couple of decisions he made. The triple coverage. Jake Ferguson, don't throw that ball ever again in your life. Just don't. Okay. At the same time, to be fair, he was under siege all game. So at that point, he's trying to play hero ball. He was pressing, and he admitted that he was kind of pressing because he was trying to make something happen, trying to get a spark. So that being said, you have to wonder transition-wise, if you want continuity, what's the invoice for the continuity? Because you got to pay the invoice. What's the invoice? If the invoice is it takes you 2 to 3 years to get the personnel right for the coordinator that you have, I don't know, Jim.
Yeah.
I don't know, because in 3 years from now, is Dak Prescott still playing at this level?
Probably not.
Probably not.
In that case, you need better personnel on defense.
That's where I'm at.
You absolutely
and you need that all around, regardless of who your defensive coordinator is.
Absolutely. There were problems at the end of Dan Quinn's tenure whenever it came to this defense, right?
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
It wasn't perfect with Dan Quinn. Everybody wants to believe that those 3 years with Dan Quinn, from 21 to 23, they couldn't stop a nosebleed on the ground.
Takeaways.
The takeaways were great, and it helped hide a lot of the problems.
Yes.
It helped hide a lot of the issues, and Micah Parsons helped hide a lot of the issues.
But this was still a bad run defense regardless.
And then you turn around and you've got Mike Zimmer. You had some hope with Mike Zimmer that he would bring in a new thought process, but you able to stop the run.
But he was a loner.
Wrong. Yeah, boom, one and done. He didn't have a great year whenever that came around. At some point, when do you look yourself in the mirror as a defense and say, this team just doesn't have the personnel? They just don't have the players on defense. Yeah, we've had 3 coordinators in 3 years, and I'm sure some continuity would help. But if you have bad players and you have a bad system, or not even, let's take the system out of it. If you have bad players, the best system in the world's still not going to be enough.
That's true.
You can scheme it up as much as possible, and it might help a little bit, but it's not going to help you enough to go win what you want to win, which is ultimately an NFC East crown, NFC title, and go to a Super Bowl and possibly win it. That's not happening when you have bad players on defense.
I mean, Nick Saban in his prime at Alabama couldn't fix this group. Like there's just not
he couldn't fix the Miami Dolphins.
Well, I'm just saying in general.
I'm just messing with
thinking of a good defensive coach.
He went 16 and 16.
That was a great point.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I'll never make a point.
Kirby
again.
Smart Kirby Smart fix
Kirby Smart couldn't fix this year, and Kirby Smart makes
That's
everything.
Kirby could not.
You could put burnt orange helmets on the other team, and he still wouldn't be able to fix
the
it.
head coach of the Jeffersons, Rochester,
not the Rochester Jeffersons.
Could not fix this.
You know what? That's what we need to do. We need to go back to playing defense like it's 1937.
I think that's what you're already doing.
Okay, well.
But look at how the Broncos have been able to shift. I mean, we were just talking about it last week. 2 years ago, they had 70 points scored on them in a regular season game. And it's not necessarily, I mean, granted, you have Pat Surtain, you have a lot of those guys, Dre Greenlaw, who didn't play yesterday, FYI.
Oh, Jesus.
But they turned their defense around in 2 years. Arguably, they were pretty decent last year.
Yeah, they were pretty good.
So a year and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it would take that long if you had the personnel, dude.
Yeah, Vance Joseph has done an unbelievable job with that unit. I mean,
the pride that it took for him to set aside.
Here's a question.
He was a head coach, and he comes back as a defensive
straight up. I'm going to ask you this question.
Oh no.
Head to head, is Vance Joseph a better coordinator right now than Matt Eberflus?
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
Then that's probably, combined with your personnel point, that's probably why it only took a year and a half to turn it around.
So and that's a great point. It's not just one thing.
Exactly.
And that's where the frustration continues. No. It's not just one thing, but you got to give some time there because you don't have the personnel. But if you don't have the personnel, then are you really going to have some success down the line too? That's where all of this kind of circles back to.
Takes guys.
Yeah, and I'm not saying
something
and
has
I'm not
to
saying
change.
Don't give the time. I'm saying that the invoice that comes with giving the time is window starts to close on QB1.
Yeah.
The transition from this man primary personnel to a zone centric will take a couple years to establish and solidify, and that's no guarantee that once it's solidified that it suddenly pops. Like, you're waiting for that spark, but that spark might not come in 1 to 2 years. So, I mean, these are all parts of the conversation.
And for me, the bigger indicator of that is take the time that you have now to improve the personnel of your defense, regardless of anything. And if that doesn't work, and hopefully it is guys that have 2 or 3 years left on their contract, so you have that flexibility to keep them on your roster. Exactly.
Yeah.
But this offseason, if we are thinking the same thing and we're not going to the Super Bowl this year, probably not, breaking news, but use free agency to improve the defensive side of the ball.
Yep.
Get guys that you know are going to contribute in a big way. I'm tired of the guessing game.
Yeah.
You're talking about, rebuilding through the draft, and I totally agree. You're going to need those picks. Regardless, if you're making trades, like you have them, you need them. Yep. So you're going to need that. You're going to need free agency, you're going to need all of these elements,
All of it.
everything to rebuild a defense that you can certainly do.
Yes.
If you get the right guys.
Got to find a way to get the right guys. We'll talk a little bit more about this on the other side of the break, and then I want to bring back the offensive conversation. 44-24, Dallas loses to Denver. More Talking Cowboys after this.
How's it going? You see that Cowboys game?
Oh, I watched. Been seeing some good things.
Totally. They have some talent.
Yup, some great talent.
And they got some fight.
Hoping this is the year.
Me too. Oh, I'm Cody, by the way.
I'm Travis.
Nice to meet you, Travis. Go Cowboys.
Go Cowboys!
Make a new friend based solely on their shirt choice. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America, the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys. Copyright 2025 Bank of America Corporation.
If you shout, "How about them Cowboys?" you have that undeniable passion that's the heart of Cowboys Nation. And if you like to drink Dr. Pepper, you love the unique blend of its 23 flavors. Together, your one-of-a-kind fandom paired with the one-of-a-kind taste of a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper is the game day lineup that can't be beat. Better yet, gather your Cowboys and Dr. Pepper fan friends to watch the next game and crack open a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper for everyone. The wins will be even tastier. It's a pepper thing.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
I'm home. Hey, Mom, before you ask, I've done my homework and the dishwasher's unloaded.
Nice. Hey, can you... Hey, hon, yes, I've got the finale ready to play. Here's your wine.
Wow.
Isn't it nice not having to ask? We think so. That's why if there's a network interruption, AT&T will proactively credit you for a full day of service, guaranteed. Credit for fiber downtime lasting 20 minutes or more, or for wireless downtime lasting 60 minutes or more caused by a single incident impacting 10 or more towers. Restrictions and exclusions apply. See att.com/guarantee for details.
Back to Talkin Cowboys.
Back here on Talking Cowboys, presented by Black Rifle Coffee Company, the official coffee of the Dallas Cowboys. Patrik Walker, Josh Rodriguez, Tommy Yarrish, Chris Beam in the back. I'm Kyle Youmans. Continuing the defense conversation, gives up a season-high 44 points. And, I mean, it wasn't pretty at any point in the game. You give up 27 in the first half, and then right when you have an opportunity to try and make it a game in the second half, you give up touchdowns, not field goals. And it all kind of plays a factor. We were kind of talking in the break there a little bit. There was some conversation from other media outlets. I don't want to put a name on it, but other media outlets in the area that are talking about how you might as well trade the draft picks that you have because you can't draft well on the defensive side of the ball. And I get there's some frustration there. There's a couple second-round picks that you've missed on. I mean, you haven't seen it from Sam Williams. We're 4 years into that experiment.
You've seen the flags.
You've seen why they've done it. The green flags, but then you've also seen the red flags, and you've also seen plenty of yellow flags too, in the way that it's all kind of worked out from an official standpoint. I see what you were doing there, but I just
the funniest
a little further
portion of yesterday was there was a set of tweets from Patrik where it was like, Sam Williams made a great play to tackle for loss at the goal line. And it was like, he tweeted out like, Sam with a great play. And he quote tweets it one play later with, and then a flag.
And there's the penalty.
That was the most.
He's always going to have one. He's always good for one.
That was the most Sam Williams stretch of football ever. You make an incredible play, and then you automatically get penalized on the next play.
But going back to the point, second round picks, you may have missed on Sam Williams. You probably have. From Marshawn Nealon's standpoint, you haven't seen it from Marshawn Nealon as a second-round pick. And Donovan Ezraku probably has flashed at times, but he hasn't shown the same caliber pass rush you anticipated him to have after you drafted him out of Boston College and after you saw what you did in the preseason and in training camp. Felt like he was going to have a bigger impact. Development is the number one thing for Ezzy. Same thing for Marshawn Nealon, both guys within their first 2 years of their career.
I will say when you've missed huge.
Okay.
And it's glaring, the ones that you have missed.
And who are some of those guys?
You talked about Taco. You talked about Mozzie. I mean, those names are going to stick in the craw of a lot of Cowboys fans for a long time to come, because those are supposed to be like, tentpole guys, right?
Yes.
And you missed big time.
Yes.
But you also drafted Micah Parsons.
You drafted Micah. You drafted Trayvon. You drafted Deron Blaine. You drafted Osa Odigizua. You drafted
day 3.
5th round pick. Yeah. 5th round pick. You drafted all of these guys that are the core of your defense. The only impact player on your defense right now that you didn't draft was coming from another guy that you did draft, and that's Kenny Clark. I mean, I think whenever it comes to trading the draft picks, don't trade them just to trade them.
No.
And that's the whole.
There has to be a philosophy behind it.
Yes, you can't just trade them. Oh, we can't draft defensive talent. That's BS.
Okay.
That is terrible football knowledge, just plain and simple. Because they've missed. Every team has missed. And you missed big on Taco. You missed big on Mozzie. Taco was a decade ago now. Mozzie is at the end of his rookie contract. You missed on him. Plain and simple. Oh, well. And that's just part of it.
Yeah.
However, you've made so many good draft picks. You can still use those draft picks in a philosophical way to go and make your football team better. Whether you draft your defensive talent, sure, fine. That's one way. Or you go and get it to try not to waste the MVP caliber play. And yes, I know Dak had a down game yesterday. Don't take away from what he did was historic the 4 games prior, even in a 1-2-1 situation. You still have good quarterback play right now, and you got to use it while you can.
Teams miss, and if you consider how many Pro Bowl players the Cowboys had that they have drafted, it's not like they've traded for a lot of these guys. I mean, we just talked about how they necessarily weren't using free agency to the best of their abilities over the last few years. I mean, Dallas drafts pretty darn well considering. I mean, Philly won a Super Bowl, and they drafted Jalen Reagor. You know what I'm saying? Like, teams miss. It's going to happen. That's what the draft is about.
They've missed a couple guys.
They've missed on a few guys, It happens.
Yeah.
But it's about what you're able to do, all encompassing. Yeah. Free agency is included in this thing. And you finally started attributing that to your game plan in this last offseason.
They've also hit on a lot of guys, too.
Yes, they have.
Those guys are from... Okay, so here's the thing about...
Hey, Andrew Makubo, where'd he go? Hook him.
Here's the thing about the Cowboys defense, and this is why, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about an expansive approach to trying to fix this issue, be it now and or come the offseason to come. And this is a fantastic tidbit of information. I mean, I hate the information, but the science is the science. Doesn't care what I like. Shouts out to Todd Archer for this one. He tweeted out last night, at the moment, Cowboys have allowed 250 points this season, 3rd most through 8 games of a season in Cowboys franchise history. You know what other Cowboys teams have given up more than this 2025 version?
Mike Nolan.
That's one. That's one. Man, and the other, you'd have to go back to the expansion year. 1960, when the Cowboys were when they were playing the Rochester Jeffersons, leather helmets. But no, seriously, you have to go back to the expansion season where the Cowboys joined the league to find one of only 2 defenses that have performed more poorly than this one. So this is actually saying, go ahead and say it.
I don't like those words.
Here's how much more disturbing this becomes. For those of us who've covered the team and saw the Rob Ryan years, you mean to tell me this defense is worse than the Rob Ryan years?
Which it is.
You have to throw everything at it. You have to throw the draft at it. You have to throw the Eagles' approach to free agency at it. The kitchen sink, the tub, in the out, just the whole
with the
thing.
water still running,
everything, pipes included, everything.
We're going to talk more about the offense tomorrow. We didn't get back to it. I mean, when you give up 44 points in the way that they did, in the fashion that they did, you got to talk a lot about the defensive side.
They could have hung 60 on this team if they wanted.
Absolutely. You keep the foot on the gas.
The drop in the end zone by Sutton. I mean, my God. Yeah. Shut it down.
Shut it down. We'll talk more about the offense tomorrow. Plus, we'll have some Talkin' Tuesday. We'll take your phone calls, 888-855-2297. I'm sure everybody out there would like to have their voice heard. Appreciate you guys being active and civil as much as possible in the chat today. It's been very active, some good debates in there too. But yeah, I think everybody's frustrated at this point in time. You're 3-4-1, you're below 500, and the Cowboys have not played very well in a consistent manner throughout the year. And you want to see back-to-back games. You want to stack some wins. And now even if you do get a win this week on Monday Night Football, you're back to 500 and you go into a bye week. So you can't even stack weeks in that regard. You got to wait 2 weeks until you get another Monday Night Football matchup against the Raiders. So lots of things to talk about with this football team and the trade deadline approaching too. Whether or not they're going to buy or sell will be a question mark. But I don't think you can sit here and do nothing. That's where I'm
100%.
You can't just sit on your hands. Not with this franchise. Was that?
Go sell.
That's Tommy's vote. For Tommy Yarrish, Josh Rodriguez, Patrik Walker, Chris Beam in the back, I'm Kyle Youmans saying so long from Talkin Cowboys. We'll see you tomorrow for a Talkin' Tuesday.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!